All right, welcome in Bears Nation podcast. It is Wednesday, November 1st. I don't know where I'm already skipping ahead to November 4th because my cousin's wedding is on November 4th. I digress. Congratulations to Mark and Casey. But, however, I'll be a groomsman in that, by the way, and it's going to be sick. Tux fits like a glove, but that's not what people are here for. It is Wednesday, November 1st, and there was a press conference today, and we're going to talk about it. Because, oh, buddy, was that embarrassing? And I'm going to make a statement as soon as I get done with this introduction of this stupid podcast and send the tweet to let people know to come watch this. But this is Bears Nation podcast. Myself joined. I'm Jake Hassan. We're already off to it. This is like a classic Bears Nation pod introduction right now. Just absolutely no idea what I'm doing. Just can't remember the day. Throwback to the days where I said, "Oh, what day is it?" Anyway, this is Bears Nation podcast. Myself, Jake Hassan, joined as always by Kevin Lapka, and oh god, I mean, what is happening,
dude? If you're watching on Twitch and YouTube right now, what was that?
I thought you did that on purpose.
No, I don't know how to do that. I think it's
I thought you did that
Zoom updates. These new Zoom updates, like I think if you do a thumbs up, if you do like a thumbs up, like look at that, you see that?
Oh,
apologies for the people listening in podcast form. This intro is pretty much encapsulates what has gone down with the Bears organization today. So,
I'm trying to do the intro. I am acknowledging how dumb this intro is. Like a classic, if you were a long-time listener, a classic like season like 2 years ago type of intro that just happened. And here's Kevin Lapka with lasers going on in the background.
Make it happen again.
Oh my god, that was so wild. All right.
We got it, baby.
How, I don't know, whatever.
All right, let's get to the statement. You know what? I want you. Did you send your tweet out yet? Because I know you got things to say, and I want to hear you say them. Let's go.
Okay. Here's the thing. I'm out on everybody, all of them. Ryan Poles, Matt Eberflus, this dumb organization. I'm out. I'm so out. I'm so far past the line. The line is a dot to me. I cannot even start to fathom supporting this organization after today and just the absolute clown show circus that today was. I can't even here's the problem, Kevin. Ryan Poles, and you were I'm going to give you credit. You were the first one on this. Ryan Poles is bad at his job. And the problem is, though, Ryan Poles does not know that he's bad at his job. Ryan Poles is sitting up there yup, nailed it. Ryan Poles is walking out of every single one of these press conferences, including today, which we'll get to the quotes from that, because, oh my God, he walks out of these press conferences and he's like, yep, nailed it. He walks out of these games and these practices, he's like, we're on the right track. I got this. Ryan Poles doesn't know that he's an idiot. Ryan Poles doesn't know that he can't do his job. Ryan Poles doesn't know his ass from his face right now. He the amount of times that I saw the GIF today from I think last year of Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus fist bumping up at the podium. The amount of times I saw that GIF today made my blood pressure rise so much. And here's this goes hand in hand. Ryan Poles doesn't know that he's bad at his job. Matt Eberflus is in denial that he's bad at his job. He knows it. It's back there. He's just no. I'm not going to listen to that voice in my head. I'm not going to, hey, conscience, right? Yeah. Hey, conscience, get your ass back to the back of my brain. I got this. I can fix this. My culture, I'm on the right track. They're both one and the same. They don't know they're bad at their jobs. And for that reason, to quote Shark Tank, I'm out until everybody in that front office and everybody in this regime is gone. I'm out, Kevin. I can't support, just the fact that they get up there and they go, yeah, we acquired Montez Sweat. We haven't talked about an extension at all. Hey, bozos, he's a free agent in 3 months. And I get it. You have a lot of time. I'm not going to overreact to that. But and maybe you just have to say that. but like you gotta have something here. And then you let Jalen Johnson go up there and say, yeah, I'm going to be pretty pissed off if he gets an extension before me, which credit to you, Jalen Johnson, totally deserved, totally get that. You earned that right. You've been here forever. You've been trying to play ball. You've been angling for a new contract for a year now. Totally get that. And then they bring this guy in, and no, not to disparage Montez Sweat. I'm sure he's a great guy. He's a great player. However, if you're going to go up there and say, yep, we're working hard. We want Montez bad. We really want him part of this organization. He's a great player. When all that they've said about Jalen Johnson in the last 48 hours alone, yeah, we're going to a request. Hey, we're going to give you 5 hours to try and find a trade. Good luck. Basically just a big screw you to Jalen Johnson. How many times have we been on the show talking about how premier of position and how important corners? Kevin, you've been on this train forever saying, pay your good players. Okay, if you're going to acquire a good player with the plans to extend him, how are you not going to already have something in place for Jalen Johnson? How are you going to give him a middle finger like that? Again, Ryan Poles does not know that he's bad at his job. He just doesn't. He's sitting up there in this box. Sure, when the Broncos loss happens and when the Chargers loss, he can say, yeah, he can be all surly and have a bad look on us. Oh, we got a bad taste in our mouth. That's fine. You are bad at your Jay Sanders. Bears fans cry about anything. He's bad at his job. We're not crying. He's bad at his job. I don't care what fan base that you are a fan of, if it's the Bears or somebody else. You cannot objectively look at what the job that Ryan Poles has done and say he's done an adequate job. He's done a good job, because he hasn't. And then you get up there with Matt Eberflus today and you double, triple, quadruple down on the job that he's done, when for the second time in 2 months, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it's crazy that we're having this conversation twice, somebody gets fired for some kind of outside HR violation. Again, 2 month span doesn't seem that short in the big scope of things, but it happened twice. He explains things well. Please tell me what he explained well. He went up there and quadrupled down on Matt Eberflus' culture and the things that he's built. Mm-hmm. What has Matt Eberflus built except a house of straw? Like, what has Matt Eberflus built? For the second time in 2 months, you have somebody getting fired for mysterious reasons that they are never, ever going to tell us. And that's malpractice. You work for one of the charter organizations in the NFL. Not saying that we as fans or people in the media are deserved, are owed these answers, but you can't have this happen twice and just be like, yeah, everything's fine. Right. There's nothing to see here. Like, it's just everything that is everything in concurrence that is happening here is insane. And it just lets me know that you're bad at your job. If this was a one-off, if this was just the Alan Williams thing to start, and then we moved on with our lives and there was nothing else, and you just happened to have a bad football team, fine. I can live with that. We have lived with that for years, but it's that happened. And then the whole thing with Jalen Johnson that is still ongoing after the fact. And Kevin, I texted you this. Everyone's like, oh, well, they're definitely getting an extension with Montez Sweat. Really? Because Ryan Poles has such great history with extending really good players. Ask Roquan Smith about that. Ask Robert Quinn about that. Ask Jalen Johnson about it right now. Like, we're living it right now. It's thing after thing after thing. And great, Jay Sanders, I get it. You're trying to spin this, but like, you have to be rational about everything as a whole that's happening. This isn't just one-offs. It happens time after time after time after time. Seemingly every other week, we have something insane or weird or just flat out dumb to talk about with this team. Why do you think when the Bears traded for Montez Sweat, everyone's initial reaction was, what? Why? It didn't make sense. Brian Poles has great history trading away second-round picks. Did you see the Chase Claypool debacle? Which is the nicest way I could put that. I have lost all confidence in this front office, in this coaching staff, which I had already lost confidence in them a long time ago. But now that Ryan Poles is up there doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on Matt Eberflus and the job he's doing and the intangibles and the culture, I'm out. You're bad at your job and you don't know it. Everyone around you knows it. Everybody around you, everyone in that media room today asked great questions. Shout out to the Chicago media in that room today. They asked really good questions that were direct and to the point, and all we got were whataboutisms. That's all we got. Didn't get any straight direct answers. And I know I've been talking for about 10 minutes, but it's just an absolute clinic on malpractice and how to not run a football team.
Yeah, I can't blame you for any of what you said. I really can't. Like, there's nothing that they have done that could make me feel like what you just said is unjustified. I mean, that's really the way I see it. And Jay Sanders talking about, did you watch Poles' presser? He explains everything pretty well. Ryan Poles is good at this. And he did this
He's good
because
at word salad.
Not even word salad. He's good at putting out the fire, but and forcing people to believe that underneath the fire are not a bunch of hot coals that are still burning inside of that room. Totally. He's good at putting out the fire, but underneath that fire is still a giant mess and still, a ton of hot coals. And the reason why I'm scared, right? The reason why this scares me is because I feel like with every little thing that happens, and this year it's been a lot of bad things. Like, I can understand this if there's hiccups and there's adversity and great teams respond to adversity. I get that. But this is different, right? With the things that have happened organizationally, with the coaches being dismissed and the HR things and, just the egregious acts of not extending your players and things of this nature and losing, a 5-20 record for your head coach and losing 14 in a row and all these different things. I feel like with every little thing that happens, they try to find a way to make it seem like it's all part of their long-term plan. Like it was always supposed to be this way. These two coaches were supposed to get fired. We were supposed to start 5-20. It was all part of the plan, and you just wait because it's going to change. And you know what? We're going to keep the coaching staff, and we are going to keep everybody around, and we're going to build this, and we're a tandem, and we're a team, and it's going to take us through the next 5 years, and we're going to finally come out with 9 wins at the end of it. Right? Like it just feels like that's the case. And I understand Matt Reynolds in the chat saying took Chiefs, Eagles, Bills, Niners years to build a contender. I understand that. But with those teams, Matt, you saw progression year over year, significant progression. The bar was literally in hell last year. It seemed impossible to go backwards. And you have found a way, even with a better roster, to go backwards. And part of that is why I'm not entirely out on Poles. He's frustrating me. And if I think they do let Jalen Johnson walk at the end of the year and that does fall apart, I will be out on him. But it goes back to the initial conversation we've had from the start about the coaching staff is you might have brought in good players, right? You might have brought in we don't know. This coaching staff doesn't know how to develop them. They don't get the best out of their players. There's a reason Sam Mustipher looks like a star center in Baltimore. There's a reason all these guys go to different organizations and look great. That's a common denominator. There's a theme behind that. But just this idea of keeping things together is what scares me, because the most notable thing about that Ryan Poles press conference is that he's confident in Matt Eberflus. He has full faith in Matt Eberflus and trust in that. And it's like I said a couple weeks ago, now more than ever, I'm concerned that they are going to keep him around. And Jay Sanders says, he says this is year 2 or not year 4. I don't care if it's year 2. You are supposed to see progression. The Bears should not be 2-6. The things that are happening in House Hall should not be happening. And if those things are happening, then guess what? Cut the shit. All right? If you see any sign of regression, you have to cut it. If you don't see progression, then what are you going to expect progression next year? You're going to expect the bar next year is going to be 5 wins with this team. That's where you're at.
So it was this year.
That's what it was this year, and you went backwards. And look, JJ, I hope you're right. I hope JJ gets or I hope Jalen Johnson gets franchised. And it's honestly likely that
unless you have to franchise Montez Sweat.
Right. And you get into that scary situation where you franchise Montez Sweat. Like, if I'm being honest, I do expect them to give Sweat the extension. I do expect that to happen. Like, that is like unbelievable malpractice if that doesn't happen. But the mishandling of the Jalen Johnson situation is one thing. And the continuous belief in a coaching staff that has done nothing for you is another thing as well. Like, say what you want about the Las Vegas Raiders, who've been a just as broken franchise for the last 20 years. At least Mark Davis has the nuts to cut it off when it's not going well, right? Cool. And yeah, people are going to have their words about that organization and those decisions. But regression, right? No sign of progression. No belief that things would get better under Josh McDaniels and I believe Dave Zeigler is his name. Cut it off. Cut it off. And that's what they should do. And Jason Anderson's so emotional. It's not emotional. It's rational. All right. Like this is rational thinking. If you want to be mired in not mediocrity, but literally mired in hell for the next 5 years, then go for it. Like that's what you're heading towards. If you are preaching that, hey, just keep it together, because the 49ers and the Bills and the Chiefs and all of them and the Eagles, they kept it together. Not with this team, not with this organization, not with this coaching staff and this front office right now. I'm not.
Also, the Eagles, the Eagles cut ties with Doug Peterson, who was a Super Bowl winning coach.
Like 2 years after.
Like at a certain point, you just have to realize some of these guys are just not fit for the job. I get it. There was a lot of hype around Ryan Poles, and because he came from Kansas City and he works well with the players. And the fact of the matter is he might just be in over his head. He just might, because now if he gives an extension to Montez Sweat, awesome. Great. I will applaud that move, because Montez Sweat is a good player. He fills a position of need. But does anybody really feel like right now that you can keep both Sweat and Jalen Johnson right now?
Does anyone feel like
you can?
You can.
But does anyone feel like that's going to happen? Like right now, like Kevin, if I ask you this question, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that the Bears keep both Montez Sweat and Jalen Johnson come January, February?
4 right now.
I would be lower. I'm at a 2.
Yeah.
I think everything that they've said today implies to me that they're going to choose Sweat over Johnson. That, all right, here, yeah, great. Go find a trade in 6 hours. Good for you. We're going to get this guy. And even though it's going to address one position need, we're expecting you to lead. So that's what they're doing. They're just going to swap the two. Like, yeah, it's just, so then you're stuck in this. Great. You filled a position need at edge rusher, but now you have a need at corner again. Like and I like Tyreek Stevenson. I like Terrell Smith, but neither of them are going to be Jalen Johnson. And I don't think anybody thinks that. It's just, it's from like people used to say about the Bears like 10 years ago, after the Trestman era ended and that whole debacle in the black pit you were in after that. People said the Bears are 10 players away from being 10 players away. You're dangerously close to that right now. You're dangerously close, especially, I mean, there's a non-zero possibility the Bears lose both of them. That they lose Johnson and Sweat. I get it. I get trading for Sweat to give yourself the window to try and negotiate with him early. Okay, fine. I get that. But just what you're doing as far as, it's just this whole Jalen Johnson situation does not sit right with me.
They're building the team out of order.
Because of and also because of the way that contract negotiations, specifically with Roquan Smith, deteriorated last year. Mm-hmm. Like, that gives me no faith. And it says to me that you're scrambling, that you're expecting to lose Jalen Johnson, that you tried to find a trade the last second, couldn't get it. Okay, now he's probably going to walk because you pissed him off. And so we got to find somebody else that maybe, okay, we can sell him on this culture and blah, blah, blah for the next couple months. And then hopefully he can buy into that and we can give him an extension while we lose the other guy. It's not an exact 1-to-1 trade, but that's what it says to me, that you're expecting, you want to try and lessen the blow of losing Jalen Johnson. So you're bringing in Montez Sweat. And to spin this into this conversation, more so that what everything Ryan Poles said was basically positives about Matt Eberflus, gassing him up. Like, being like, yeah, this is my guy, gonna ride with him. Kind of what Ryan Pace did with Matt Nagy, if you'd recall. So that says to me, Matt Eberflus is sticking around. Don't expect to see a new coach. And that could change. There's still, 9 games left in the season. So that could change. If he goes winless, maybe that changes. But as of today, November 1st, I feel like Ryan Poles, like, yeah, Matt Eberflus is doing a good job. Like, this is going well. Like, this is my guy. I like what we're doing, the intangibles. Which,
let me ask you
back to my point that Ryan Poles doesn't know that he's bad at his job.
What's the harm in going up to that podium if you're Ryan Poles and acknowledging that the head coach isn't doing a good enough job? What's the harm in that? Right? Like, these are grown-ass men. If the players get told that they're not doing a good job on a daily basis, if you miss a tackle, you're getting chewed out. What's the harm in him going up there and saying, we understand that we have not met our expectations, and he doesn't have to call Matt Eberflus, but he said the entire team and organization has to be better, sure. Right? Can you hold some accountability And I know that Matt Eberflus talked about the standards and whatever, and he kind of hinted at it. But Ryan Poles kind of, like I said, poured water on the fire and neglected to acknowledge that the coals are still burning. Go up there, say everything else you said about Montez. Like, I didn't have a problem with what he said about Montez and Jalen. I actually didn't have a problem with what he said about the two players, but it was just what you were saying about you have a disguise that everything is going well. And there's a reason Jason Leisure, I believe it was, asked Matt Eberflus, like, is today a good day at House Hall? Because you're making it seem like it. Like, go up there and say, we are not even anywhere near our expectations. And like, it's not like if you're saying that, you're not exposing yourself. Everyone knows that. Like, everyone knows that. I'm sure George knows that, right? Like, have some accountability.
Speaking of people
have
that
some
don't
humility.
know they're bad at their job.
Well, so here's the thing real quick. So this, and I was going to write an article about this today on Tap Sports Network, obviously Bears Future Podcast, presented to you by OnTap. Go read all their stuff, great content, podcasts, articles, everything you need on Tap Sports Net. I was going to write an article about, we had this belief at the beginning of the year, or at least I did. I said, you know what? You preached to me about, hey, I think it was the Packers game, because you picked them to lose. You picked the Bears to lose that game, right? Yep. And your reasoning was same old Bears. And I went up that day on the podcast and was like, Jake, this is not same old Bears. Like, we have reasons to believe that this is a different organization and a different regime, right? And I said, you want to know why? Because there's one man there named Kevin Warren. And Kevin Warren, we believe, has the power to make significant change in the organization. And then on Sunday Night Football, when Chris Collinsworth and Mike Tirico are breaking down how to fix the Bears because it's 30-13. There's nothing else to talk about. You know what they do? They pan that camera to a suite, and who's up there? It's Kevin Warren taking notes. And I'm like, all right, dude, if you're taking notes, guess what? It's time to make change. All right. If you want something to significantly change this organization, it ain't going to happen from George. It ain't going to happen from Poles. It's going to happen with Kevin Warren. We were led to believe that this hiring would change things. And well, guess what, Kevin? It's time to change it. And look, I understand there's people out there who say he's not here for that. He's here for the stadium. It's not his role. Well, I was reading, like, I had to go back to Kevin Warren's resume and say, okay, like, has his role really just been stadium stuff and different financial things? Because Minnesota, that was his reputation. We built the stadium. What else do you know him for? This from Dick Vermeil on Kevin Warren. Vermeil praised Warren in 2012 as being a, quote, as critical and important a part of the Rams Super Bowl championship team as anybody in the organization. That was head coach Dick Vermeil talking about Kevin Warren in 2012 about the Super Bowl winning Rams team from the early 2000s, I believe from 2000 or 1999. Yep. This guy has the ability to be a significant piece and a significant reason that you see change in this organization. But guess what, Kevin? The time is now, and you have to act now before things get out of hand. Well, actually, I take that back. Things are already out of hand. Act now. He's the only thing and the only person that can change things in this organization. And for the most part, he's been in the dark. It's time to come out in the light and make some change.
Well, so that begs the question then, was Kevin Warren given that power? When he was hired, would it shock you if George McCaskey sat down with Kevin Warren and literally told him, hey, we're going to give you title of team president. You can have the plaque in the parking spot, and that's great, but you ain't firing anybody. You ain't hiring anybody. Like, that's, if you want to, or if you think we should, you pick up that orange bat phone and you call me. But that's,
well, I don't, would Kevin Warren have taken that job if that was the case?
Yeah, because you know what's awesome? Money.
He has enough of that, dude.
You know,
he was the commissioner of the Big Ten.
Yeah, because more money is a bad thing. Yeah,
I know.
Kevin, in the history of humankind, people pass up more money because, like, yeah, I got enough money. Yeah, that happens. Like that, like, for real. Like, do you really believe that George McCaskey didn't say, I'm keeping the power around here? Like, I'm going to groom this mustache with a toothbrush every day, and I'm going to tell you that I'm making the decision. So you can handle the stadium. You could call the city of Arlington Heights. You could talk to them all you want because I don't want to deal with that. But when it comes to this goddamn football team, it's me. Would you be shocked by that? I'm not. That's fully what I believe happens. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Jay Sanders, we finally agree that McCaskey and George McCaskey has been weird like that, to use Jay Sanders' words, forever. Yeah. To quote the Sandlot, forever. 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 That's always been his thing. That's why Ted Phillips was here for so long, because he was just a puppet. George McCaskey had that hand, whoop, way up there, buddy boy, working that mouth. That's what it was. That was that not our complaint about Ted Phillips forever?
Sure.
So it was not like, to me, it's not outside of the realm of possibility. In fact, I think it's likely that Kevin Warren got the title, got the nameplate, got the office, got the parking space, because they said, we'll give you a crap load of money if you can get us a new stadium either in Arlington Heights or in Chicago and make us a buttload of money. But everything else, we're still handling. Like, I
hope not. It's possible.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Warren's like, yeah, this Big Ten commissioner, president of the Bears, get this done, bang, commissioner of football. I don't know why Roger Goodell would ever leave, because
he just got a contract
very well, and he just got an extension. But like, yeah, Jay Sanders, you clearly, no, I'm glad you're here. Thank you for being here. I've been on that train forever. Since
I think most people have.
One of this podcast. Once the McCaskies are gone, that is when you will see that there are serious adults in this room that are serious about running a football team and winning a Super Bowl. This family does not care. They want to print money, because you know why? They know they can. No matter how bad this team is, no matter what a clown show, no matter what a circus it is, we're going to eat up the slop. We're all complicit, because here we are talking about it. Here you guys are watching and listening, and please continue to do so. We appreciate your support. And that's, we're, calling into the Score and ESPN and CHGO, and we're all complicit. And they're just going to print fucking money forever and ever and ever and ever. And you know what? We're going to die long after this family is still in charge. But maybe our kids can enjoy some success with this stupid franchise. But this family just wants to print money. And they're going to, because at the end of the day, they're still the Chicago Bears. They're still a charter franchise. People are still going to come to Chicago to see away teams play. Hell, I'm one of the psychos that's still like, maybe I'll buy a January ticket for $7 just to tailgate my face off and have a good time. Like, that's what it is. They're going to keep printing money. They don't care. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about anybody in the chat. They don't care about anybody on Twitter. They don't care about anybody that's listening to the radio or watching on TV. All they care about is printing that money, baby. And they're going to keep doing it, and they're going to keep laughing at you. So, and I know every now and then it's boycott the games. Good luck, man.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. This ain't Washington. This ain't Boise, Idaho, where you got to round up 73 people and get them to boycott. Like that, it's millions of people in the city. You'll always find thousands to go. So it's going to happen. So, God, I'm so out on just everything that the stupid franchise does. Prove me wrong. I would love to come back in 6 months, not even 6 months, whatever, at the end of the season, and I would love that Eberflus is fired and Jalen Johnson has a contract extension and Montez Sweat has a contract extension and Ryan Poles is up there at the end of the year press conference saying, we screwed up, we're going to try and run it back. I'm going to do a very thorough search because, again, and I've been on this train since day one, Ryan Poles didn't get to execute a full coaching search. He came in, got hired. They, meaning the team, the organization, the family, said, here's your 3 options. Pick, bucko. He didn't get to do any of the searching. So prove me wrong. Give the good players extensions. Get up there at the end of the year. Say we're going to do a full search, and which hopefully ends with Ben Johnson. And we're going to try this again with Caleb Williams or Drake May or whoever. Because, again, I think that they very much want to play Tyson Bagent the rest of the year. I very much think that they're going to find some excuse to put Fields on IR for the rest of the year. I digress. But it's just prove me wrong. But until then, clown organization that I am so out on. I hope they lose every single game the rest of the way. Full disclosure, I'm going to pick against the Bears every single week the rest of the year. And probably in the next year, because probably nothing's going to change because it never does with this stupid organization.
I think when you're talking about firing the coach too, and like just the recognition now, and we kind of recognized this before, but like you have to remember what Matt Eberflus was brought in to do. This was a hiring of damage control. It was a hiring of risk averseness. Is averseness a word? I would probably imagine
Sure,
no. We'll take
We'll
it
allow it.
because it felt like the Nagy era was relatively messy, I guess you could say,
Sure.
right? And the culture had broken down. They maybe had lost a locker room. You were supposed to bring Matt Eberflus to build that culture back. Principle, discipline, hits. We're not going to penalize people on the field. We're going to play smart, and we're going to follow the Chicago Bears culture, and we're going to do things.
They have been penalized less. That's one thing that's
no, not this year. They were penalized like a million times this past week.
Yeah, on Sunday,
like every freaking play is penalty. Fucking yellow flags all over. Last year they were good with the penalties, but it seems, again, when we talk about regression, this is what I mean. But he was hired to literally do everything the opposite of what's going on right now. You got guys, and look, and I don't want to be unfair. I know there's a lot of people who are talking about the vetting process with the coaches and that. Like, I don't know what happened there. It's weird. The guy, the David Walker and Alan Williams. These guys have been in the NFL for a really long time. Sure. Maybe there were issues in other organizations that got uncovered. You just don't know. Like, it's hard to 100% put that on Eberflus and say, well, he's just hiring assholes to get, like, I don't know. I don't want to say that.
There's a lot we don't know.
The bottom line is those things are happening, and it's just like, it's the opposite of what he was brought here to do, of clean things up, make things not messy. Let's do things the right way. Let's be disciplined, right? And you're seeing things spiral. You're seeing things, come loose at the seams, and it's the opposite of why I was hired. So it's just another indictment on him. And I think it's like, unfortunately, Jake, it's another reason why they're going to hire Jim Harbaugh, or they're going to hire like the older coach who's been around. Like, they're going to do like the John Fox again, because they don't want to take the risk, because they have to clean things up again next year. Like, that's going to be the case. And I don't hate Jim Harbaugh. Like, I'd be fine with Jim Harbaugh. I'd be excited.
I would be very okay with that. I know it's like the preconceived notion of like, oh, Bears fans just want old Bears. Harbaugh's fine, because again, coach. It was a brutal situation in San Francisco. Like, they just didn't want to pay him because he was a really good coach. I'd be fine with Jim Harbaugh. If that means you have to draft JJ McCarthy, I'm fine with that. I'll take that. Like, I'm okay with that.
Well, sure. I mean, yes. Like, I'm fine with Harbaugh, but just this general idea, and who knows if it'll be Harbaugh. The Michigan
Honestly, I don't think Harbaugh's safe. Like, that's and this is a conversation
in Michigan.
No, like, well, that, and like, I don't think he's like a safe choice, quote unquote.
Well, I mean, there's risk associated with him, is what you're saying?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sure, there is. He hasn't coached in the NFL in, 8 years.
But I mean, like, you lumped him in with like the safe choice of like John Fox and blah, blah, blah. Like, I think Jim Harbaugh is like, you're kind of going out on a whim. But whatever, this is a conversation for 4 months from now.
And look, TTP podcast in the chat, appreciate you being here. He says, what players are you talking about? Because players play hard for Flus and no character issues with the players. I mean, there's no character issues with the players. It's hard. I mean, I guess the players play hard. I mean, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But it's more in general of just like I don't like, you're not getting the best out of them, right? It feels like I could be wrong on this. It's a regression factor.
Like, guys go elsewhere and they play better. You're not getting the best out of the players.
Right. And that's a huge, that's like the largest indictment on the coaching staff. But, again, the bottom line is this. There's a lot of pessimism around the team. We've been pessimistic for 33 minutes here on this podcast right now. And what I said before holds true. The only way this is going to change is if Kevin Warren steps up. And if he doesn't step up for the next 10 games here, not 10, 9. 7, 9? Can there please be 0 games left? For the next 9 games here, then you might be right about what he was really brought here to do, what he's allowed to do. But if you want to see change, if you want to see things be different, fire them midseason. Do something that's never been done before in the organization. And it sure didn't seem like that's going to happen now after everything that was said today. But this feels like a situation where, man, you're now more than ever justified to do it. Like, you could, it can be a hard thing to do if you're doing it on performance-based things, because there's a lot of factors. But once you get the HR and coaches resigning and things like that involved, that's just more ammo for you if you're Kevin Warren to cut ties and be totally justified for doing it. So that's like, again, I'm just sitting around waiting for him to do something, to say something. I don't know. And I'm not putting too much weight on Kevin Warren. Like, this is what his role is, and this is what he has done for other organizations before. Well, sure, but I'm just talking about in the past. Like, he has the ability to be this significant of a piece for winning organizations and for good organizations and organizations that win Super Bowls. So I have reasons to believe that he could be that here if given the permission. So that's really where I'm at for it with him. I'm looking at my notes here. It's a lot of the same things we kind of spit out here. I was kind of making the analogy, like, just the way they're operating this team and building this team. When you go to the contracts and when you look at the Jalen Johnson, the Montez Sweat thing, it's like they were given an instruction manual to build a team, but like someone went in there and ripped out like a page for every 8 pages. Like they just ripped out a page. Like everything's out of order. They're skipping steps. They're doing things backwards, right? You're gonna rebuild next year probably and draft a new quarterback, but you're trading for guys and extending them. Like I don't understand. Like, what are we going for here? Make it make sense. Like at this point, like you're kind of preaching, and this is the other thing that scares me with the trade for Montez Sweat. And if they do end up extending Jalen Johnson and Montez Sweat, like we'd be happy about that. But you're also kind of preaching at that point of like, we believe we can be competitive soon. Like that's what you're preaching. Right. If you don't think
it's why you signed the guys you did this offseason. It's why you signed CJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds, because you thought.
And I don't blame them for doing that at the end of the offseason, because we believe that this could have been a year where they won 10 games. We believe this could have been a year where they won the NFC North and all these different things. I did. And I think a lot of other people had that as potentially the ceiling if things went well. But now, like, what I said in the beginning, it just feels like with every little thing that happens, they're finding a way to build this in and mix it into the long-term plan. They have a giant bowl with a mixer and they're throwing everything into that bowl and they're continually mixing and seeing what they can, what they can make out of it to turn it into something. And that is just, it's the wrong way to do things. You got to cut your losses at some point. You got to swallow your failures. You got to swallow your pride, say you made some mistakes and fire people and make harsh decisions. I don't know.
I mean, at the very least, like you have to fire Eberflus. Like you have to. Like, and Jay Sanders is right again. Like the McCaskey are cheap. They don't like paying people who are on contract. If he loses out, I don't know how you can.
It's impossible.
Like
I don't think they'll lose out. I really don't.
Okay, so what? I mean, again,
sure.
we asked this question the other day. We asked this question the other day. Okay, who are you beating? Carolina, maybe? Arizona, maybe?
But Jake, it's what you said. You said it doesn't matter at this point. Like, unless they go 6-3 and sneak into the playoffs, it doesn't matter, right? Like, if they win 5 games, if they win 6 games, like, it shouldn't matter, right? It shouldn't. Again, we don't know, but it shouldn't. Like, they should be too far gone.
How furious would you be if the Bears traded, let's say, number 2 overall to the Cardinals for Kyler Murray and took Marvin Harrison, number 3?
I mean, I don't know what it's the dumb. It would be, I don't know. What is there to say? I can't even say a word because of how stupid that would be. Like,
which also would probably take you out of the running for Marvin Harrison, because theoretically then the Cardinals are picking 1 in that scenario. Right. So they already take a quarterback and they probably take Marvin Harrison too. But I digress. That was just a really stupid.
I don't understand what T3P podcast is saying. Take a breather and look at the big picture. Why fire Flus after you destroyed his team last year? Give a chance. Because he had all the tools this year to succeed. Maybe not succeed, but he had all the tools this year to show progression, and he hasn't. That's why you fired him.
Did we just find Matt Eberflus's burner? No, I'm kidding. Okay, realistically, like let's look at it this way. The reasons to fire Matt Eberflus. Okay, so far in his career, he's got 4 wins.
5.
Thus far, a year and a half in, he's got 4 wins. That's 5. A big 5 wins.
5-20.
He's 5-20, and every single, I agree, Murray, the city would riot. They would riot. That's why I asked that question. But you're 5-20 so far in your tenure. Every single player, Sam Mustipher, who I famously went on a rant about being just a guy that should be working at Jewel, went to the Ravens and turned into at least a league average center. Nicholas Morrow left the Bears, went to the Eagles, and sure, you can make your comparisons there about organization to organization. The Eagles are very much a better run organization than the Bears. Nicholas Moore went to the Eagles and became a very solid, extreme, possibly Pro Bowl caliber linebacker, where he was like just a guy here. He was better than Mustafa, but he was still just a guy, every single, like, we all believe that if Justin Fields goes somewhere else, he's going to be infinitely better. And Roquan Smith goes and gets paid by the Ravens. And Eberflus is here, and it's just like, he looks like he's in over his head. Like, the defense is better, yes, but it's because you actually paid guys. You replaced guys who were just guys with Tremaine Edmonds, who was largely viewed as one of the better, at least upper echelon, maybe not the best, but above average, at least a B tier type linebacker. You replaced other guys with TJ Edwards, who racks up 1 million tackles. And yeah, he's made the splashy plays, but he's been solid. Like, you invested in positions where you had literally black holes. Kyler Gordon's taken a step forward because he's been healthy. But like everything else that Eberflus has been in charge of, like how let me ask you this, T3 podcast. Sure, the defense has taken a step forward. Was it the step forward that we expected? Was it not the leap that we were expecting? And also, in that same vein, how do you let Luke Getsy start the season the way he did with Justin Fields? Like, it's mismanaged. I think Eberflus could be a good defensive coordinator. Fine, I'm not going to take that away from him. Sure. But in the head coaching job, he looks like a defensive coordinator that's in over his head. Like, I'm sure he could go, if he was just the defensive coordinator, I'd have no qualms. Fine. But as a head coach, he's in over his head. He doesn't know what he's doing. He can't manage a team. He can't tell, like, he couldn't tell Luke Getsy, hey, do what we did last year with the offense. It took 4 games for that to happen.
Yep.
Like, that's the biggest. Great. The defense is fine and has taken a step forward a little bit, marginally. Sure. That's great because Matt Eberflus was supposed to do that because he was a defensive coordinator. That's why you hired him. But everything else, personnel, offense specifically, hasn't been good and has regressed. Luke Getsy, yes, he should be fired. Who hired him? Who gave him free reign of the offense? Who didn't go to Luke Getsy and say, hey, what are you doing after game 1? Who didn't go to Luke Getsy after game 2 and say, hey, what are you doing? Who didn't go to Luke Getsy after game 3 and say, hey, what are you doing? Like, that's on Matt Eberflus. Again, sure, he could be a fine defensive coordinator, but as a head coach, he's in over his head.
Yeah. And look, this is the thing that you said, and like that, like, I will not deny the defense is better. They are really good in some metrics. Like, I just saw on PFF, they're like first in the league in rush yards before contact was 71 per game, or 71, and the league average is 257. Like, it's unbelievable. They're really good in some areas. But here's the thing. All right, guys, I completely just lost my train of thought after reading this comment about Matt Eberflus. Here's the thing. It's what I said before. It's like a sunk cost, all right? You hired Eberflus with the hope that he could run a team. You liked what he had to say in the interviews. You thought that he could be a good leader. This isn't a guy who's been a head coach before. He doesn't have proven ability to lead a team before and be the head coach and know how to be responsible for those duties. If that were the case, I might be agreeing with T3P Podcast and Jay Sanders in the chat. Like, okay, maybe we do have to give it time because he's proven and done it somewhere else. This guy has never been a head coach before. He clearly wasn't cut out for the job, and that's okay. Guess what? You just have to recognize it and cut it off, all right? You recognize that, hey, we made a bad decision. We thought that he was going to be a great leader and be able to handle everything and be responsible for everything. Guess what? He just isn't. Eberflus may still have a long life in the NFL as defensive coordinator or as a defensive assistant or as a linebackers coach or anything. He's still good at that, and he still will have a life in the NFL, but you have to recognize that, hey, we made a mistake. Because if you don't recognize that now, things are only going to get worse, and you're only going to postpone the inevitable. So that's really what it comes down to for me with Matt Eberflus is there's just no proven ability for him in his coaching career to be a guy who can rectify this. This is broken beyond repair, and he doesn't have the resume and the track record to fix it. So at that point, you have to cut it off. Jason, I'm saying it's bad, but it'll take time. You're delaying the inevitable. That nothing is going to change. You have reached the breaking point of this team. And if you watch Matt Eberflus, man, and here's the sad thing is like Matt Eberflus, when he goes up to that podium, he's a broken guy. Like he doesn't want to go up there. He doesn't want to address the media.
Well,
and
he's never been good with the media from day one.
He's never been great with the media from day one, but he goes up there and you can tell the last thing he wants to do is be up on that podium taking those questions because he knows he's just going to get punched in the mouth back and forth. And I think for his sake, like he might reach the end of the year and just like resign or something. Like I don't think he wants to even. He won't. No one was going to resign and not take the money. I get that, but it's like I think almost even he recognizes that he just isn't cut out for it. Like I think he walks.
I don't think he knows he's bad.
I think Poles doesn't, but I think Eberflus, he may not know that he's bad, but he may know that he just is overwhelmed and he's got way too much going on.
And you know what the biggest example of that was? After the Broncos game, he's just sitting there and he's just running his hand through his hair. He's just like, what? Like, what?
What do we do?
Like, that's as somebody who has a lot of tics. I've never related to a human being more than I did to Matt Eberflus in that moment. Like, I get it, man. You're stressed out. You're like, oh my God, did that just happen? And I get it. I'm sure Matt Eberflus is a very nice man. I'm sure he's a very nice guy, but he's just in over his head. Like, if you didn't expect him to win 7-9, then you won all the 7 in the first 8. Again, I've asked this question: where are the wins coming from? T3P. Who are they beating? Who is this team beating the rest of the way? Like, it's just, sure, yes, they're bad and it'll take time. Eberflus isn't the guy. He's just not. You can't have, and I said this on Monday, you can't have this guy be in charge of what will likely be a new quarterback and a new offense next year. You can't, because you did it. How many times did we go through new offensive coordinators with Jay Cutler? How many times did we go through changing the offensive system around Mitch? You just got to change it all. You just got to
everything.
Bring in a new coach clean. Who's going to bring in a new coordinator. Sure, you want to keep Matt Eberflus. Hey, we make Matt Eberflus the defensive coordinator. I'd be fine with that. Great. The players know him. You keep the scheme, because that's what I'm worried about too, is if you bring in a new head coach who changes the defensive scheme and then Montez Sweat is out of position and then you're screwed. That would be tough. But that's a different conversation for a different day. You want to keep Matt Eberflus defensive coordinator, fine, but you need somebody who can command a staff, who's going to bring in a new OC, and who's going to just reshape this culture, because this culture ain't working. You're losing games. Yeah. You want to keep losing games, fine, but I don't.
And look, you know,
Agent can't manage a game. That's the problem.
That
Agent's bad.
Like, don't get me wrong, T3P. The thing that I want more than anything, and the reason why this is, see here's the other thing too. Here's why this recognition is important now, because you have to and this is why I said they just need to fire them now, so you don't not know what's going on at the end of the year, and you need to recognize everything now, because look, Justin Fields, when he's at his best, is capable of winning you games in spite of the coaching staff, right? Like, he's capable of overcoming that because he's that good. We saw it last year when they should have been winning games with the worst roster in the NFL. They're losing the Dolphins by 3 points. They're losing, the Lions by 1 point, right? They're doing all these great things because Justin Fields is putting the team on his back. And you saw that this year because he's throwing for 4 touchdowns in back-to-back games, and he's doing everything he can. And yeah, in the Broncos game, the coaches still found a way for them to lose that game. The defense still found a way for them to lose that game. But he has the ability, when he's playing at his best, and assume he comes back and he does play at his best, he has the ability to carry a team and make the head coach look good. So also the fear that let him play. So assuming they let him play. So T3P, I want the Bears and Justin Fields to win as much as possible, because for my interests and rooting interests, I want them to keep Justin Fields around. Obviously, I think that's the best case for the team, and they're only going to do that if he were to play well and win games. But if you start to win games and you end up with 7 wins, and they can look at the end of the year and say, well, look at this. You were talking about regression on the Bears Nation podcast on November 1st. Regression, what? We just went 5 games up, and most people had our win total around 7.5 anyway. That's exactly where we're supposed to be. And if you get to that point because Justin Fields carries them to that, then you are going to forget about everything that happened. So that's why at least the front office will and the organization will, because they're going to take a holistic view of it. They're going to say, hey, 7-9, 5-game or 4-game progression. Guess what? If we do that again next year, we're 11-6, and we're going to make the playoffs. And that's exactly how they'll frame it. But if you recognize now that this is broken beyond repair and this cannot be fixed, then you eliminate that fear and you eliminate the possibility, I just bit my tongue, of Justin Fields playing well enough to mask some of the things that have already happened. So Jay Sanderson, he led the league in TDs before he got hurt. Burrow and Hurts still behind him in TDs. Yes, like we are aware of how good Justin Fields can be and how he's capable of making the team look good sometimes.
To be fair, Joe Burrow was hurt for the first 7 weeks.
Joe Burrow was hurt for the first 7 weeks. So obviously that stat about being behind him isn't 100% accurate. But
also,
yeah,
I don't think Hurts is healthy right now either.
Well, he's got a weird knee injury, but he just runs in pushes from the 1 yard line. But he's still great. Look, I'm still fearful, Jake, that they're going to find a way to make Fields the scapegoat. And this has been the theme for me all along. Like, we can talk about the defense all we want, say, hey, great, you know what? He did a good job with the defense. We'll recognize that. Guess what? This has always been about the mismanagement of the best talent at quarterback to walk through the organization. This has always been about the external things. This has not really been about the defense. This has not really been about that. This is an offensive league. If you have a good defense, it doesn't equate to much in today's NFL. You mismanage the offense, you mismanage the quarterback, and you mismanage the team. And having a good defense isn't enough to make up for that. So, sure. I mean, Jake, do you have anything to say about the upcoming game? And this is supposed to be a preview episode, but they're just not going to win. I mean, they're just not.
So this is always what I do when evaluating matchups. Who has the better coach? Who has the better quarterback?
Yeah, I do that too. Well, I'm not sure Dennis Allen's that good, but he's better than Matt Eberflus.
And I had this conversation with Paul Aspen today. Razor thin margin, but I think it's Dennis Allen. I think it's razor thin. Yeah. Dennis Allen's brutal, but they definitely have the better quarterback. I mean, whatever you want to say about Derek Carr, and he's washed, whatever. He's definitely better than Tyson Bagent. So who has the better quarterback? Who has the better coach? The Saints, unfortunately. Who has the better defense? Saints. Who has the home field advantage? Saints by 1,000,000. So, you think Tyson Bagent's going to the Superdome is going to succeed? Couldn't even do it in Los Angeles at SoFi for the Chargers.
I guess the 31st worst defense in the NFL.
So, yeah, I think it's right. I kind of think the Saints are going to win by double digits.
Prediction, I guess, just do a prediction.
If you get Leslie Frazier, I will walk out of this podcast and never return.
Leslie
I will
Frazier
tell you that right
be.
now. If Leslie Frazier gets hired as the next head coach of this team, I will leave this podcast forever.
He mentions Joe, sorry, to the people. I don't know, he, she, whatever, maybe. You mentioned Jim Caldwell in in that comment there. And do you remember? No, okay, but take your hands off your face, because do you remember during the head coach process when we knew it was down to Eberflus, Jim Caldwell, and who was it? It was a bad choice of 3. Yeah, it was Caldwell, Eberflus, and I don't remember the third one.
Might have been Frazier.
I think it might have been. Do you remember when I was on my Jim Caldwell thing once we knew it was the final 3? And I was like, please just hire Jim Caldwell. If you're looking for a guy to do damage control, get a guy who's been in the league and is well respected. And as a head coach, how much better? I'll ask you, how much better is the Bears team if Jim Caldwell was the head coach? It's hard to say, but are they better with Jim Caldwell? They are.
I have to say yes, right? Because how could they be worse? I guess I have to say yes, because how could they be worse?
Look at the validation here.
Oh man, I guess. You know what? If the Giants, and they won't do this, but if the Giants fired Dable, you pick up that phone immediately, right?
I think you have to. I think you have to. It's not his fault that they signed Daniel Jones
and Tommy DeVito, Illinois legend.
I think, yeah. You talk about teams that could be broken beyond repair with their head coach. It could be that in New York. Some are calling him Fat Matt Nagy. Well, that's not very nice. He is. What did I swear to you, I came on this podcast, and don't get me wrong, I would have been happy if they hired Brian Dable. But I came on this podcast and I said, be cautious, because sometimes you might have a quarterback so good that he makes the offensive coordinator look good. And guess what? It's the same thing with Patrick Mahomes and Matt Nagy. And this is exactly what's going to happen with Brian Dable and And Josh Allen is going to go to a different team. He's going to have a great first year. They're going to exceed expectations and make the playoffs, and they're going to regress the next year. And he's going to get fired a couple years later. I said it, and I hope I am right. Predict the game. I know we got to run out of here. Jake's got things to do. Yada yada yada. Let's predict the game.
Yeah, sleep. I mean, I think the Bears lose. Like, I don't think this goes well. See, now the stupid thing is that I think that they might like get up for this game and like keep it close because of everything that happened.
Okay, but we said that after the Allen Williams thing, right? That was my case. That was the case I made.
We did.
After that game. Who did they play after that game? But I know I came on here and I said,
was that
would unite them. I can't remember.
Was it the Bucks? It was either the Bucks or the Broncos.
September 24th, he got fired. So then that was like a Wednesday, September 24th. Then they played the
Chiefs. The Broncos.
Oh,
Chiefs. The Chiefs.
Wait. Was it? No, that can't be right.
No, that had to have been
Yeah. It was before the Chiefs game. It was before the Chiefs game. So I remember saying, like, I remember being like, you know what? Like, just maybe, like, it'll unite them, and they just, like, had to get rid of this bad thing, this bad energy.
Well, that wasn't your fault. You didn't know Taylor Swift was going to be there.
I know. I would have predicted the Bears. Oh, I predicted the Chiefs to win anyway, but.
All right. Prediction for this game. I'm going to say that the Bears lose this game. Oh, God. I'm going to say Saints win. I know I just said Chiefs because I was still thinking about the Chiefs. That's my bad. I'm going to say Saints win. I think you get 30 dropped on you again. I'm going to say Saints win 35-10.
35-10?
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
I think you get smoked.
Okay. The interesting thing about the
Saints
is they're not very good.
No, they're not. They're bad. No, they're bad. But the Bears are just worse.
Yeah, and you know, everyone talks about the Mercedes-Benz or not the Superdome, whatever fuck it is. Home field advantage. It really hasn't existed since Breeze left. I mean, when did Breeze leave? 2021. So if you look at their home record since 2021, the New Orleans Saints at home in the Superdome are 7-11 since Drew Brees left. So the whole home field advantage thing has sort of tempered since Drew Brees left, but it still exists, especially against Tyson Bagent, a D2 quarterback who's making his third career NFL start. So that is just something to throw out there. Like, I don't know what the spread is, but I don't think you can bet the Bears on the spread, even if it is like, I just don't think it's safe. If you are a betting human out there. So I will also take the Saints in this one.
I think it's 7.5.
Considering taking them. I took the Chargers in Survivor last week.
8.5 now.
8.5.
Oh, God.
Jay Sanders thinks they cover 21-13 Saints. I think the Bears lose.
8.5 is a lot for a Dennis Allen, Derek Carr team to lay.
It is.
I'm not gonna lie.
But they did beat the Patriots like 35-0.
The Patriots are terrible.
Yeah, and the Bears aren't. You know, like I don't know.
Fair.
26-15 somehow. 26 to would that be scoregami? Can we check that, please?
There's no way it's not.
26, and this is going to be the greatest prediction of all time.
Get there?
So
I don't 3 touchdowns, a field goal, and a safety.
5 field goals. No, they're gonna score a touchdown, and then they're gonna try to go for 2. No, they're going to score a touchdown. They're going to get a field goal. They're going to get another field goal, and they're going to get a safety. I don't know. They somehow get to 26-15. I don't know how it happens, Jake, but it's going to happen. 26-15. Bears lose. Lock it in.
Well, 15 makes sense. 5 field goals. That's fine. But...
We have a listener. One of my friends from high school, Mitchell Smart is his name. He deserves a shout out because every week he puts a correct score bet on one of our predictions, which I love.
Hilarious.
Mitchell, if you're listening to this, you could probably get 26-15 at plus 50,000.
Yeah.
Put $1 on it, please. Bears lose 26-15. It's going to happen. If it happens, Jake, I'm a legend. I don't know what I would do. But
this podcast has famously had the Cole Kmet 2 touchdown game for people to win a lot of money. So, Anything bold for you for this game? I just kind of think it's going to be a rout. Rashid Shaheed,
Jay Sanders, Felix Jones, 10-catch day. Hey, Jay Sanders, what if I told you, I know you're joking. What if I told you that if Velus Jones Jr. had a 10-catch day, those receptions he had in one day would equal the receptions he has in his entire career?
And you know what those receptions would be too? It'd be like for like -7 yards. Yeah.
Jet sweep, -7 yards.
-7 yards, 3 fantasy points.
A bold prediction. Let's get crazy. Who's like the most like a good one last week would have been Darrington Evans touchdown. That would have been a really good one.
That would have been good. Kari Blossomgame?
Yeah. Yes. No, here's a good one. Here's a good one. Kari Blossomgame throws a touchdown. They run like a weird, Kari Blossomgame throws a touchdown to Tyson Bagent. They're some dumb like Philly
Chicago special.
Kari Blasingame
Chicago handshake. You call it a Chicago handshake.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Oh my God, lock it in. Can we get the odds on Kari Blasingame to throw a touchdown to Tyson Bagent at plus 8 billion? That's where we're at. You got anything bold? I don't think you can get bolder than that.
That's
the
fullback throwing a touchdown pass to the backup QB. I'll just go back to I think Tyler Scott is super due. They keep trying to get him involved. I'll say Tyler Scott does something. Scores.
It does something.
So we'll go
okay.
that way.
All right. Tyler Scott does something.
If the Blossomgame to Bagent happens, it has to be called a Chicago handshake, right?
I guess. I mean,
has to be.
I don't know what a secret Bagent something. I don't know.
Chicago
secret Blasing. Yeah, sure. I like Chicago handshake. That's not bad. Hey, shout out to the listeners in the chat. Wait,
do you know what a Chicago handshake is?
I don't think I do. I just think you're just. I just thought you were
like it's a shot of Malort and.
Wait, I knew that. I was gonna say.
You weren't. Shut up.
I was because wait, isn't that on the bottle? Isn't it on the bottle?
Yeah,
say,
dude.
Like, yeah. See, I knew
saw
that.
It was great. Anyway.
Okay, I knew that. I should have just said that.
But you didn't because you didn't know what it was. And you're lying. Anyway,
so I kind of lied.
No, hey, Kevin's right. Shout out to the listeners and everybody in the chat today. You guys were great. Appreciate all of the interaction. You guys gave us some gems today. We know we go hard at you, but you go hard at us, and it's an ecosystem. That's what we do around here. So, is that what makes the latest? Is it this? Is that what it is?
I don't know. So I don't know.
Because you're at a rock concert, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, maybe. How do I turn this off? Because this is happening on BetQL too.
It's way
this is
funnier.
happening on BetQL.
It's way funnier. Keep it.
It is funnier. But like,
it's way funnier.
You can do thumbs up. There we go.
Yeah,
can you do thumbs down? Because I would use that. We could use this a lot. We could use this a lot.
Stupid. I think T3B is asking what a Chicago handshake is. It's a shot of Malort and a can of Old Style. If you're asking what the laces are, we don't know. We're trying to figure it out. But I digress. Thank you guys. You guys are the best. We know this was a rant episode. We know this was a high emotions episode, but that's what we do here. We're letting it out. We're having fun. It's what it's all about. What else can you do? So after all, it's sports. It's supposed to be fun. So screw it. Stop doing the lasers. For myself, for Kevin Lapka, this has been Bears Nation Podcast brought to you by OnTap Sportsnet. Go to OnTap for all things Chicago sports. It's great content galore over there. Me and Kevin will be back. Well, actually, I won't be back on Monday. Kevin will be here with probably Kellen. I will be traveling.
Kellen. So Kellen can. He works for Boston College, so I think Gabe Ramirez is going to fill in.
Oh, Gabe Ramirez will be in on Monday. That's somebody who actually knows what they're talking about will be on this show. But Kevin and Gabe will hold it down on Monday. I'll be back next Wednesday, but I have full faith in them, kind of. But until then, come back Monday for Gabe and Kevin. They'll interact with you the same way we have today. Maybe we'll have something positive to talk about. Maybe Derek Allen. That's me mixing up Derek Carr and Dennis Allen, merging them together to make a conglomerate. Maybe they'll screw up and the Bears get a win. I don't know. I think we're rooting for the tank now. I am. But until Monday, and for me until Wednesday, we'll talk to you guys then. And as always, bear down.
Bear down.